We always knew that the alliance between leftists and Muslims was extremely fragile. Islam promotes female genital mutilation, wife beating, and the killing of homosexuals. Leftists are generally pro-feminist and pro-LGBT. How could these two groups possibly be fighting for the same cause? Well, it's easy. If they're focused on a common enemy, they can temporarily ignore their differences, form a shaky alliance, and pretend to be friends as they bring down opponents that don't agree with leftists or Islam. So, the enemy of my enemy is my friend. Until, of course, the enemy of my enemy starts coming after my children. The alliance between leftists and Muslims only works when they're not targeting each other. But we know two things. One, leftists really want to spread their views to children. Two, Muslims do not want non-Muslims indoctrinating their children. Hence the showdown in the UK over the No Outsiders program. The goal of the No Outsiders program is to expose children to different kinds of relationships so that these relationships don't seem strange to them. The program starts when children are 4 years old. They're not taught about sex yet, but they're given stories that feature same-sex couples. As the children get older, they're exposed to more and more information about the LGBT community. When the program was rolled out in Birmingham, protests erupted, mostly from Muslim parents. Following the protests, many schools suspended the program until after Ramadan to give schools more time to talk things over with parents. The BBC reports. 4 more schools in Birmingham have stopped teaching about LGBT rights following complaints by parents. Lee Trust, that's a school, said it was suspending the No Outsiders program until an agreement with parents was reached. Earlier this month, the city's Parkfield Community School suspended the lessons after protests were held. Campaigner Amir Ahmed said some Muslims felt victimized, but an LGBT group leader said No Outsiders helped pupils understand it is okay to be different. In a letter seen by the BBC, Lee Trust said it was halting the lessons until after Ramadan, which finishes in June. Mr. Ahmed, one of the leaders of the Parkfield protests, said he had seen a presentation about the program that was to be shown to the government as part of the school's Prevent strategy, which is aimed at reducing radicalization. I think that's outrageous, he said. It's quite disgusting that the school has presented our children as potential radicals. Mr. Ahmed said his community was respectful and tolerant of British values, but now felt victimized. He claimed parents who had protested were effectively seen as homophobes in the wider community. Fundamentally, the issue we have with No Outsiders is that it is changing our children's moral position on family values, on sexuality, and we are a traditional community. Morally, we do not accept homosexuality as a valid sexual relationship to have. It's not about being homophobic. That's like saying if you don't believe in Islam, you're Islamophobic. Notice Mr. Ahmed says that the Muslim community feels victimized by the program and by the reaction to the protests. Muslims are feeling victimized and marginalized. Not a good feeling. What about the LGBT community? BBC headline: LGBT people never felt more vulnerable in Birmingham. People who identify as LGBT say they have never felt more vulnerable in Birmingham following protests against same-sex relationship education. Some Muslim parents have been protesting since January against the No Outsiders program at Parkfield Community School in Alum Rock. A West Midlands police officer said the protests did not constitute a hate crime despite coming very close. Some members of the LGBT community were critical of the protests' policing. More than 100 people attended an open meeting on Thursday in Birmingham's Gay Village, the majority of whom agreed they felt increasingly threatened, anxious, and frightened. Birmingham LGBT said it had recorded a rise in hate crime. However, Inspector Matt Crowley said protests outside Parkfield School did not constitute a crime despite coming very close to that line. He said policing hadn't been perfect, but the force took hate crime very seriously. For several weeks, parents, mostly of Muslim faith, have been calling on the school to scrap the program that teaches children about same-sex couples through storybooks. They said they believed the subject was undermining parental rights and authority and said the lessons were toxic and disgusting. So, members of the LGBT community in Birmingham have never felt more vulnerable than they feel right now due to Muslim protests and an increase in hate crimes. Muslims are feeling victimized and persecuted and are concerned about their children. As long as leftists and Muslims were focused on a common enemy, they got along famously. Now that their conflicting values are rising to the surface, the tension is building. So, what's going to happen in Great Britain? Well, these groups do need each other. Muslims need leftists to help them silence critics of Islam. Leftists need Muslims to back their political candidates. But now we've got leftists starting to accuse Muslims of homophobia and Muslims starting to accuse leftists of Islamophobia. Something's got to give here. Which side is going to back down first? Leftists, obviously. They're either going to have to water down the program so much that it has no chance of achieving their goals, or they'll have to allow Muslim families to opt out of the program. Either way, I'd say there's very little chance of leftists standing their ground against an angry Muslim crowd once that crowd starts calling them racists and bigots and Islamophobes. That's my prediction. We'll see if I'm right after Ramadan. But how many times have you known me to be wrong in my predictions? Peace be upon me.